me ask you something. Have you ever trusted someone so deeply, only to have that trust shattered into a million pieces? Betrayal doesn't just hurt, it changes you. It rewires your heart, making you question every I love you, every promise, every late night conversation that felt like forever. But here's the truth. Not all betrayals deserve forgiveness. Some wounds are too deep, some actions too cruel. And today I'm here to tell you, never forgive these three betrayals in relationships. Loyalty is the foundation of every strong relationship. It's the unspoken promise that says, no matter, in the eye and lie. Every step of the way, they had the opportunity to stop, to come clean, to choose you, but they didn't. That's not a slip-up, that's a deliberate act of disrespect. And here's the painful truth. If they did it once, they can do it again. Because the moment they cross that line, they prove that their loyalty was conditional. True loyalty isn't something that flickers in and out. It's steady, unwavering, and non-negotiable. Once trust is broken, the relationship changes forever. You might try to forgive, to move on, but deep down, you'll always wonder, are they lying again? Who? What are they texting? Why did they come home late? That constant suspicion eats away at love like acid. You'll find yourself checking their phone, analyzing their words, second-guessing their actions. Not because you're paranoid, but because they made you this way. A relationship without trust is like a car without fuel. It might look intact, but it won't go anywhere. You can't build a future on doubts. You can't heal a wound that keeps getting reopened. And most importantly, you shouldn't have to live in fear in your own relationship. Betrayed partners often fall into the trap of making excuses for the disloyalty. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe they were going through something. No. Just no. Their betrayal is their choice, not your failure. A person who truly loves you doesn't seek comfort in someone else's arms. They communicate, they fight for the relationship, they stay loyal even when things get hard. And let's talk about the classic, it didn't mean anything excuse. If it meant so little, why did they do it? If they truly valued you, why would they risk losing you for something meaningless? The truth is, betrayal doesn't have to be emotional to be damaging. Even a so-called harmless fling is a violation of trust. It tells you exactly where you stand in their life, as an option, not a priority. Society loves to preach forgiveness as the ultimate virtue. Let it go. Be the bigger person. Everyone deserves a second chance. But here's what they don't tell you. Forgiveness without accountability is self-destruction. You can forgive for your own peace, but that doesn't mean you have to stay. Some betrayals are so deep that reconciliation is just another word for self-betrayal. True strength isn't in enduring pain. It's in knowing when to walk away. It's in recognizing that you deserve better than someone who could so easily discard your trust. Loyalty isn't a favor, it's the bare minimum. And if someone can't give you that, they don't deserve a place in your life. At the end of the day, love without loyalty is just attachment. It's empty words and hollow promises. You deserve someone who doesn't just love you when it's easy, but who chooses you fiercely and consistently, even when temptation knocks. Someone who would never put themselves in a position to lose you. So if you've been betrayed, hear this. You don't owe them forgiveness. You don't owe them another chance. What you do owe yourself is the courage to walk away from anyone who could so easily break what should have been unbreakable. Because loyalty isn't just about love, it's about respect. And you should never settle for less. Respect is the oxygen of any healthy relationship. Without it, love suffocates, slowly, painfully. until what was once vibrant becomes a hollow shell of what it could have been. But here's the hard truth. Some people don't just lack respect for their partners, they actively weaponize love to manipulate, control, and diminish. And that kind of betrayal, it's unforgivable. Because love without respect isn't love at all. It's emotional warfare disguised as affection. It starts small, a backhanded compliment here, a dismissive comment there. You're so sensitive, they say when you express hurt. I was just joking, they insist when their words cut deep. Over time, these microaggressions accumulate like poison in your veins, making you question your own perceptions. Maybe I am too emotional, maybe I'm overreacting, but here's what's really happening. They're conditioning you to accept disrespect as the normal. A partner who truly loves you builds you up, not breaks you down. They don't mock your dreams, dismiss your feelings, or make you feel like an inconvenience. Yet so many people stay in relationships where they're constantly shrinking themselves to fit into someone else's narrow expectations. That's not love. That's emotional imprisonment. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious forms of disrespect because it doesn't just attack your feelings, it attacks your mind. When someone gaslights you, they rewrite reality to make you doubt your own sanity. You're remembering it wrong. You're too dramatic. That never happened. These aren't just words. They're psychological traps designed to make you reliant on their version of the truth. And the worst part? Gaslighting is often disguised as concern. I'm just worried about you. You've been so paranoid lately. They position themselves as the rational one, the stable one, while painting you as unstable. Over time, you start to believe it. You second-guess your memories, your emotions, even your own instincts. That's not a relationship. That's psychological abuse. Love should be freedom, not ownership. Yet so many toxic partners disguise control as care. I don't want you wearing that. You shouldn't hang out with them. Why are you texting him? These aren't signs of protectiveness. They're red flags of possessiveness. A healthy partner trusts you. A controlling partner treats you like property. And it's not always overt. Sometimes control wears the mask of concern. I just don't think you're capable of handling that job. You're not really going out alone, are you? These statements aren't about your well-being. They're about keeping you small, dependent, and easier to manipulate. Real love empowers, control suffocates. This is the grand finale of disrespect. The belief that they're the ones settling, that you should be grateful for their presence in your life. They might not say it outright, but the message is clear in their actions. No one else would want you. You'll never do better than me. This is emotional blackmail designed to keep you trapped in a cycle of self-doubt. But here's the truth they don't want you to realize. They're the ones who are lucky. Lucky that you've tolerated their disrespect for this long. Lucky that you've given them chances they never deserved. Because the moment you wake up and recognize your own worth, their power evaporates. Disrespect isn't a mistake. It's a mindset. It's a fundamental belief that you are less than, that your feelings are negotiable, that your boundaries are optional, and that's not something that can be fixed with an apology or a promise to do better. Because, at its core, disrespect is about entitlement. The belief that they have the right to treat you however they please. You can forgive a lot in love. Misunderstandings, mistakes, even moments of weakness. But you should never forgive someone who looks at you and sees someone unworthy of basic decency. Love should never demand your silence, your shrinking, or your surrender. So if you've been disrespected, remember this. Walking away isn't an overreaction. It's the only sane response to insanity. You don't owe anyone a place in your life who doesn't honor your humanity. Because respect isn't a privilege, it's the bare minimum. And anyone who can't give you that doesn't deserve you. There is a special kind of cruelty in someone who promises to love you for better or worse, yet disappears the moment worse arrives. This betrayal cuts deeper than lies or even infidelity, because it reveals a fundamental truth. Their love was never about you, it was about what you could provide when life was easy. The betrayal of abandonment isn't just about physical absence, it's the emotional desertion that leaves you stranded in your darkest hour, wondering how someone who claimed to cherish you could vanish when you needed them most. We've all seen them. The partners who are all sunshine and smiles when life is good. They're charming when you're happy, attentive when you're thriving, and full of grand declarations when the waters are calm. But the moment you face real struggle, grief, illness, financial hardship, or emotional turmoil, they grow distant. Their texts become shorter, their excuses multiply. Suddenly they're too busy for your pain, too overwhelmed by your crisis to offer support. This is the mark of a fair-weather lover, someone who wants to enjoy the warmth of your light but has no interest in sitting with you in the dark. And here's the painful reality: if they can't handle you at your worst, they don't deserve you at your best. Love isn't a spectator sport. It's showing up with a flashlight when the power goes out and staying until the lights come back on. Abandonment isn't always physical. Sometimes it's the slow fade of emotional neglect. The way they stop asking how you are, how their eyes glaze over when you try to share your pain, how you find yourself apologizing for being too much when all you're doing is asking for the bare minimum. This is betrayal in its most insidious form because it leaves no visible scars, only a quiet erosion of your sense of worth. You start to question yourself. Am I too needy? Am I overreacting? But the truth is, needing support isn't neediness, it's humanity. A partner who truly loves you doesn't make you feel like a burden for having emotions. They don't punish you for being hurt or make you beg for basic compassion. Real love leans in when the world feels heavy, not checks out because it's inconvenient. Anyone can love you when the bills are paid, when your health is strong, when your smile comes easily. But the measure of true love is what happens when life falls apart. Do they hold your hand through the hospital visits? Do they sit with you in silence when the grief is too heavy for words? Exhausted. That's when walking away feels impossible. But that's also when it's most necessary. Because staying with someone who abandons you in your pain is like drinking poison and hoping they feel the effects. It doesn't work that way. So if you've been left to weather the storm alone, know this: their absence isn't a reflection of your worth, it's a confession of their inadequacy. You were never too much. They were simply not enough. And that's not a loss, it's a liberation. Because now you're free to find someone who understands that love isn't just about holding your hand in the light. It's about being your anchor in the dark. And until then, be your own anchor. You've survived without them before. You'll thrive without them again. There's a dangerous myth we've been sold about relationships, that forgiveness is always the answer, that holding on makes you strong, and that walking away means you didn't love enough. But here's the truth they don't tell you. Sometimes forgiveness isn't healing, it's self-betrayal in disguise. Some wounds don't make you wiser, they just make you bleed longer. And some people don't deserve access to your heart after they've proven exactly how little they value it. Forgiveness is powerful when it's given to someone who's genuinely remorseful, someone who takes full accountability, makes amends, and changes their behavior. But forgiveness becomes foolish when you give it to someone who sees it as permission to keep hurting you. Too many people confuse turning the other cheek with laying down on the ground so they can be walked over repeatedly. That's not grace, that's self-destruction. Every time you forgive the unforgivable, you teach people exactly how much they can get away with. You become complicit in your own pain. Because here's what no one admits. Staying with someone who keeps betraying you isn't loyalty, it's the abandonment of yourself. The moment you accept treatment that degrades your spirit, you've betrayed yourself far worse than they ever could. We stay too long because we've invested so much. Years, memories, shared dreams. We tell ourselves, if I just love them harder, they'll change. But love isn't magic. It can't transform someone who doesn't want to be transformed. Meanwhile, the cost compounds. Your self-respect erodes. Your boundaries dissolve. You lose pieces of yourself trying to fix something that was never yours to fix. And for what? For the privilege of being hurt again? For the honor of being someone's backup plan? There comes a point when the price of staying far exceeds the pain of leaving, because the most expensive thing you'll ever own is a relationship that costs you your peace. Society paints leavers as quitters, as people who didn't try hard enough. But what's really weak? Staying in a broken situation out of fear. What's truly cowardly? Choosing the misery you know over the uncertainty of freedom. Walking away from betrayal isn't failure, it's the ultimate act of self-respect. It's saying, I refuse to negotiate my worth anymore. Think about it. Nature itself shows us that some things must die for new growth to happen. Forests need fire to regenerate. Snakes shed skins to grow. Why should relationships be any different? Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself, and even for them, is to let go completely. Because nothing changes if nothing changes. We've been conditioned to believe that holding on to anger hurts us more than it hurts them. But there's a middle ground between rage and reconciliation. It's called indifference. It's the understanding that some betrayals don't deserve your anger, your tears, or even your forgiveness. They simply deserve your absence. When you stop trying to get over something that should never have happened, you reclaim your power. You stop carrying their shame. You stop twisting yourself into knots to make sense of the senseless. Some stories don't need happy endings. They need firm endings, and that's okay. Here's the radical truth. You are not responsible for fixing broken people. Your love is not a reform program for emotionally immature partners. Your loyalty shouldn't be a bandage for someone who keeps wounding you. A relationship isn't a charity, it's a partnership between two whole people. If they wanted to change, they would. If they valued you, they'd show it. Stop mistaking their potential for reality. Stop confusing your capacity to love with their inability to love you properly. Some bridges need to be burned, not out of hatred, but out of self-preservation. Real strength isn't measured by how much you can endure, but by what you refuse to tolerate anymore. It's the courage to say, I was wrong about you, and walk away with your head high. It's the wisdom to understand that closure comes from within, not from their apologies or explanations. So today, give yourself permission to make unforgiveness your superpower, not as bitterness, but as boundaries, not as vengeance, but as value. Because the greatest love story you'll ever write isn't about how you love them, it's about how you finally learn to love yourself enough to leave. Remember, not all storms come to disrupt your life. Some come to clear the path for what's next. And sometimes, the most profound act of self-love is simply choosing to walk through the exit they created for you long ago. So here's my final word to you. Love should never cost you your dignity, your peace, or your self-worth. If someone has betrayed you in these ways, don't forgive. Walk away. Because the greatest act of self-love isn't holding on. It's knowing when to let go. Now tell me, Have you ever faced one of these betrayals? Drop a comment below, share this with someone who needs to hear it, and remember, you are worth more than half-hearted love. Thank you. Hearted love. Thank you. Hearted love. Thank you. Hearted love. Thank you.